Alright, so that's what people see in here. So I'm going to click go live on Facebook.
Okay. And then how do we make it go on YouTube?
It should be already on YouTube.
Okay.
See if it's showing up.
All right, we are live-ish. We are waiting just a couple minutes, making sure our technology works and that this is showing up. It is. Look at that.
Trying something new, so let us know if you can hear us okay in the comments. We're going live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time, so we'll see how this works out.
So we're live on Facebook. I confirm that. So if you're watching, say hello, grab some popcorn, grab a beer. We won't judge. And let's see if it's live on YouTube. Where would it be?
I think it should show up in notifications if it goes live. But then again, you probably wouldn't be notified for your own live.
I'm on a
you're on
different
a different
channel
one?
watching me.
Let me see here. Let me pull up this and make sure it's...
Or if there's a different way to see it. Nope, there it is.
Oh, it's there?
Yep, we're live. Okay, so we have in both places. Let me mute this so we don't hear that on accident. All right, so we've got 20 people on YouTube. So we're testing out some new technology. Say hello, go ahead and smash the like button, as Mr. Rakin says, and ask some questions. So we will be answering your questions today. So that's working out well. Looks like everything is good on Facebook. Thanks, Craig. All right, so we will jump in just a minute. We're a minute early still. Figure we better, since we're testing new technology, we'll make sure this works.
Yep.
So what's the technology called? We can give them a nice shout out.
The one we're using right now is called Castr, CASTR.io.
Very good tech
So,
name,
yeah,
IO.
yeah, .io, and you gotta take the E. You can never put the E at the end.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
the R.
Gotta cut the
As it
vowels.
works. But yeah, it seems like it's working. We're live on both, so
Perfect.
happy with it so far, at least.
So we're going to keep trying to find ways to bring you good content from all over. So again, if you're watching us on YouTube, say hello, smash the like button. If you're on Facebook, you could smash that like button too. Drop us a comment, say hello, ask questions. We're going to be going through some scouting tips today. We want to make sure that we give you some good content, and if you have questions, by all means, ask those, and we will do that as well. Manzu, I think that's Mr. Frank Mann, says hello from Las Vegas. What's up, my man? We were just out there 2 weeks ago for a marketing conference. We thought about swinging through, but our schedule got away from us, so we'd love to catch you next time. A bunch of people on Facebook. This is awesome. Brian says hello, Caleb, and Matthew. Don't forget Matthew. Kyle says what's up, guys. Brian says looking forward to OCR. It is very, very close. We're actually ready for Android, and we are slacking just a little bit on iOS, but maybe this week. Fingers crossed. Crypto Pope says loud and clear. Jay Burb says I can hear you. Raymond says hello. Gloria says hello. Emil says hi, guys. Catherine says hello. So we got a lot of people watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for saying hello. Jack says hello from Philly. What's up? My sister just moved away from Philly. That's pretty cool. New features coming-ish, but we're not going to talk about features today.
Jameson's on here.
Jameson, what's up? Jameson, are you down in Austin with the green room, blue room, purple room?
Oh yeah, is that happening right now?
I think it's right now. Rakin was down there. DD from Raleigh. We got somebody from Canada. Hello, hello. Loud and clear in God's country. I can only assume you mean Colorado. Jeff says hello, guys. Jay Price is in the house. What's up? I think you're Kansas, Oklahoma, somewhere in the middle of the country. Idaho's in the house. Brian says loving Scout IQ has legitimately improved my quality of life. Wow, we're putting that on the website. That sounds awesome.
I'm gonna copy that down.
That's a good one. Hello from Canada. A couple in Canada. Hello north of the border, where our tagline is going to be Scanada, eh? Yeah? See what I did there? Arkansas. When you register with the state, we'll get to that. Hello from Ireland. Wow, John, all the way from Ireland. What's up, guys? Kansas, truly God's country. There you go. Michigan, Jay Burbs. Michigan in the house. That's where I'm from. Greetings from LDN. London, maybe? What's up from... We got somebody's sound on. That might be me. I got it.
Right there.
Checking in from Indiana. All right. Well, let's jump in. We got a lot of people from all over the country. Matthew is from Utah. I'm from Michigan. We currently live in Denver. This is our office. And one of the requirements of our office is that we have to wear matching shirts. So we do coordinate every day. Make sure we come into the office looking legitimate. We're also waiting on a giant Scout IQ metal sign to show back up here. So this is our Scout IQ headquarters. If you guys are
cut today. They keep me text.
So letters are
giant
coming.
Steel letters of Scout IQ coming soon.
If you guys have not heard that we have an office, we've had an office now 2 months, 2.5 months. If you guys ever come out to the Denver area, please look us up. We'd love to take you to Topgolf, grab a beer, say hello. You can swing by the office, see our setup, ask some questions. We've got a Polaroid camera. We'll take your picture, put it on the wall of fame or shame, depending on how you view us. But come on out to Colorado. If you're in the Denver area, specifically in Inglewood, Centennial, look us up, drop us a line. If we're around, we travel a lot, but if we're in town, we would love to meet up with you. So open invite, come on by. We're not going to charge you. It's silly. Bring a beer, bring some snacks, come say hello, and we'd love to meet you. So we've had a few people, Portia Precious and her husband Jay. Jay were our first two visitors, so come on out, say hello, and we'll get your picture. A lot of questions, so that's great.
To turn the page.
Awesome. Which Nathan? Bowden. All right. So, a couple things. One, we are wearing matching shirts. Anybody recognize this logo? Anybody recognize it? It's not quite colored like it is normally. This is, well, we'll see if anybody comments.
Yeah,
we'll
see if you comment. Give you a minute. See if you know this logo.
Anybody know this one?
Everything's always delayed in live stream.
Yeah,
so
you got the
hear it in a
Facebook
second.
there. Abe Green says, did you seriously paint your office Amazon orange? True story, the office came this color. The rest of the walls are actually white, so it's cool, but it actually came this color. Scout IQ, Amazon, everything's orange.
Scout IQ orange, not Amazon yellow.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, Scout IQ orange.
Hey, Brent Milton knows what it is. He says, or Millen, Gumroad. Good call. So this is Gumroad's logo. We were actually, got a cool invite. If you guys don't know what Gumroad is, it's a way to sell your products for creators. So if you guys buy my tracking spreadsheet or download any of my free listing spreadsheets, or if you've bought scanners from me or turn the page tickets, that all comes through Gumroad. So they manage all the sales, they take payment processing, they make it really easy to plug in. I can just create a link, create coupon codes, run affiliates. It's awesome.
That's a good one. The old phone game of snakes.
The old phone game of snake. It does kind of look like that.
It does look a lot like that.
All right, I'm going to be back. I'm going to go play that game. But so good question there. Not a good question. Good comment. But so Gumroad reached out and said, hey, we're doing a dinner in Denver for the top 25 Gumroad creators in Denver, and somehow we happened to make that list, which was really cool. So we got invited last night, went down to the Populist, which is a very hip area, a very hip restaurant in Rhino District.
Really good restaurant.
Denver. Fantastic food. I highly recommend it. And so we got to go down. We also brought David Chung, who's local. He was our plus one. And we got to spend time with about 20 other creators in Denver. Got to meet the CEO of Gumroad, Sahil. It was awesome to meet him. So Sahil, thanks for putting that on. And the crew, Trent and a couple ladies, I forget. But they all came out from Utah and spent the evening with us. So it was great to meet other creators, kind of brainstorm ideas, see what people are doing in different spaces. And again, for all of us in the book world, we get so stuck and so focused on, hey, everything is books. Like everybody's doing books. Everybody's flipping books. Everybody's on Amazon. You get outside of our circle, most people have never heard about it. So they're like, you sell books? What? We're like, yeah, and some software and some spreadsheets, and we do some other stuff too. Wait, you're flipping like used book, like real books? So it's a good reminder. People still don't, it's not quite mainstream, even though a lot of us think it is. All right, so a lot of comments here. We will get to those in a minute, but we want to share a few things. So one, Gumroad is awesome if you guys are creators or looking to sell something. It's really good tool. It's fairly inexpensive as a payment processor, very similar to Stripe or PayPal or any other credit card. And we don't, I guess we're paid to promote them. They bought us dinner and gave us t-shirts. So great tool, love the product. They've got an amazing story. If you guys love business stories, go look up their story. They took about $10 million of
funding,
$8 million plus a $2 million loan. He wanted to be a $1 billion company, started it at 19. And a couple years later, they were bleeding $350,000 a month. They were losing $350 a month, almost out of money. Fired the entire team, went down to just himself, so just Sahil, and he kind of brought the company back. They're now processing, I think, $5 million a month in revenue. So like for creators, so giving most of that back to people like Matthew and myself, and then they take a payment processing fee. And so they're profitable now. He changed his goal from trying to be a $1 billion company into just a profitable company to do what he wants. So really, really cool story if you get a chance.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump in. One more thing before we jump in. If you guys have a chance, if you want to come meet some of the key people in our space, so Travis Wren with Acceleralist, myself, Matthew can't come because his wife's having a baby the next day, so that's not going to work out.
He might be cutting it close. I don't know.
They're accurate with timelines. But if you guys want to join us, we're doing I believe our 4th Turn the Page conference. It's going to be in Chicago, so Chi-Town. It's beautiful. It's going to be hot. It's going to be July 19th. So the evening of July 18 is a Thursday. July 19 is a Friday. Come join us in Chicago. Speakers include Matt Adolph. He hustles harder than most people I know, most any two people I know. He's awesome. He's got some really good stories of getting kind of setting up systems, buying books in bulk, doing some social sourcing. He's pretty cool. Great story. Travis Wren from Acceleralist. Myself. I think David Chung is going to come. He's not going to speak, but he'll be there. You can pick his brain. Steve Rakin is going to come. He's not going to speak, but you can pick his brain as well. Reezy may be coming. We're still waiting. So if you guys know Reezy, drop him a note. Say he's got to get in there. And then Avery Martin, or Romer the Romer, as you guys may know him on Instagram, will also be speaking. So we've got a good lineup of speakers. Come on out. It's $199. You got to get yourself there. And Travis, this is Travis's old hometown, Chicago. So he knows all of the hole-in-the-wall spots. We've got an awesome venue in the basement of a coffee shop. We've got the whole place to ourselves. And it's going to be hip. So come on out. If you want to learn more about business, if you want to hang out in Chicago with a bunch of booksellers and really learn.
Reezy is coming.
All right, sweet. Mandy, thanks for that. So I guess Reezy is coming. We got to pony up, pay him some money because he's not cheap. He always gives us a great deal because we go way back. But Reezy's going to be in the house as well. So that's awesome. Again, it's not like a formal conference like normal. We will have some talks, but in general, we like to get together and talk about how to streamline your sourcing, streamline your listing, try and be smarter, learn some of the tips and tricks that we don't like to talk about online because people could misconstrue it, and you'll kind of learn the behind the scenes type efforts. Lorenzo, if you're watching this from California, come on out. I hope to see you in Chicago. You know how to have a good time, so come on out. We'll hope to see you there. All right, so if you want to do that, we'll post a link. Can you do that? It's bit.ly, bit.ly/TTP Chicago, all lowercase. So again, bit.ly, we'll put a note in the comments, hopefully on Facebook as well. So bit.ly/TTP, turn the page, Chicago, all lowercase.
I'm going to throw that in the comments right now, both Facebook and YouTube.
So we'll throw that on YouTube, and we'll throw that
YouTube
as well.
Yes, they did.
Cool. So if you guys want to come on out, let's do this. And I hope to see you in Chicago in about a month. All right, that's enough of the promo. We're going to talk a little bit about sourcing. And again, if you have questions, post those there, and we will jump in and try and answer those throughout. One of the things we want to talk about today, though, is what categories of books should you be looking at? And the reason this comes in handy is, of course, at thrift stores, you don't want to scan necessarily every single book. Depends on the store, but that might take you all day. You want to get in and out, try and find the most value in the least amount of time. So also, when you go to library sales, it's really important. Most libraries are really well organized. You walk in, you've been to a couple in Denver, yeah? So there's a couple big sales in Denver, 2 of them that are close to 100,000 books, and they happen twice a year. So there's 4 big sales here. That doesn't mean you can come steal all of our books. What are you laughing at?
Matt Adolph asking about selling chicken.
Oh. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good story from Matt. I'll let him tell that one.
Forgot about that story.
That was a good one. Where were we? Okay, library sales. So libraries are usually organized by section, right? So they'll have a fiction area, they'll have nonfiction, and they'll organize it into like repair manuals, art, history, science, math, textbooks, religion, business. So they'll have all those sections. So the question is, when there's 50 people lined up at a sale and the buzzer goes, it's 8 p.m. and everybody gets to go in for the preview, where do you go first? Obviously, textbooks is where many of you like to go, but the question is, which categories have the biggest bang for the buck? And this is actually an old blog post. I want to shout out Reezy. He actually shared this week on Instagram.
I'll grab Reezy's post and I'll share it in both the group.
That was cool. So we'll put a link to that. If you guys aren't following Reezy, you should be. Most people are, but follow him on Instagram. And I think he put it on Facebook as well in his group.
I think it's
but
in Facebook group.
He puts out a ton of free content. It's really valuable. And he kind of dug up one of our old blog posts, which kind of let us say, hey, we should do some of this content today. So which categories are the most important? Let's get right to that. We've got a blog post. If you actually Google most profitable book categories, the Book Flipper blog is the first one that comes up. So if you're in front of a computer, you can do that. But just Google most profitable book categories, and it will show up. It's on my website, thebookflipper.com. So here's what we did, and this was kind of a fun experiment. When I was kind of learning the business, I believe this was back in 16. I don't remember when I wrote the article, but I went to my college library in Indiana and said, hey, do you guys know what your collection's worth? They said, no, we have no idea. I said, we've got, we have the ability to run a list through a database and see what it's worth on Amazon. Do you have a list of ISBNs and maybe category? I'd love to just return the value. I'm a data junkie. I just want to see which books are valuable, how valuable your collection is, like if I could buy your whole library, what's it worth, etc. So she goes, yeah, that'd be awesome. It'd be great for insurance purposes. It'd be kind of cool to have. So she dug up a list of their entire library. It was 148,000 books. So pretty good sized collection, about 150,000 books. Almost all of the books, it's a college library, almost all the books, 99% of the books were nonfiction, which is great. Again, most of us don't like fiction books. There are some subcategories of fiction that work, but mostly nonfiction books are where the money is. And so 99% nonfiction, so 148,000 books. The vast majority of those are nonfiction. And it was all sorted by, I don't know if it was Dewey Decimal or Library of Congress. I think it was Library of Congress. And so what we did is we were able to take that and take every subcategory and say, hey, what's the highest average price of any given category? So if you guys aren't looking at the blog post, no cheating, what categories do you think are the most popular? Go ahead and comment on YouTube or comment on Facebook. Leave us a note and let us know. You got some of the comments there.
Yeah.
So what kind of categories do you guys look for? What do you think is the most valuable? So again, this is one library. It's not quite statistically relevant, but it's 150,000 books organized by category. And we said which categories have the highest average used price on Amazon. We weren't looking at rank, just looking at the average price. So someone says science,
Music.
Brian says music, someone says reference. Yeah, reference is really good. What else you got? Medical, yeah, medical can be really good. New age, reference for sure. Business, architecture. Yeah, so you guys are pretty on point. Here's the top 10 categories by highest average selling price. It is music, number 1. History or world history. Military science, so anything military related. Fine arts, which would kind of be all encompassing with music and dance and some of those things. Auxiliary sciences of history. Number 6 was philosophy/psychology/religion. Religion does tend to sell very well. 7 is bibliography or library science. If you guys are sleeping on library science books, that's crazy. We found an $800 set on the Dewey Decimal System a couple weeks back. A 4-volume set about this big, $800. So library science can be really good. Number 8, language and literature. Number 9, technology. And number 10, law. So these categories, again, top 3, music, world history, military science, are the top 3 as far as average selling price. So what does this mean? If you go to a library sale and it's organized roughly by category, where should you be going? I love music. I go right to that if it's there. Fine arts also includes some of the languages, so like how to speak Spanish, some of those books. And most of these categories, if you'll notice, like military science, fine arts, music, world history, these are subjects that aren't really changing, right? Law is always changing. Medicine is always changing. If you get a recent medical textbook, it can be gold. Wait a year or 2, sometimes 3.
Old nursing textbooks you see everywhere.
Worthless. Because nursing is changing a lot, right? The human body, we discover new things about it all the time. Music, it's not really changing. Music is music. Math isn't really listed here, but math is high on that list as well. Math isn't really changing. So if you can find categories like architecture, arts, science, any of those things that don't change very much, and a book on World War II, let's say the storming of Normandy, for example, that's still going to be relevant today because there are new books being written about it, but the facts haven't really changed. Maybe we learned something else. So anything like that it's timeless, someone still may have demand for it, those are going to be pretty good. So those are the top 10 categories. Real quick, we'll just touch on the top 10 subcategories. So I think Library of Congress has big categories, and then underneath it is subcategories. So the number 1 subcategory, and I always look for this as well, Avery, if you're watching, he found a $2,000 set of books, I believe, with Andrew Gong. So Avery and Andrew did a road trip, and they came across a $2,000 set of books on Judaism. So anything about the Jewish people, Jewish religion, very technical stuff on Judaism is the number 1 subcategory. Oriental languages, Greek and Latin language, railroad engineering, geology, Asia, philosophy, literature on music, linguistics, and again, visual arts. So again, a lot of things that don't change, and the more niche, the better. So again, why does that help you? If you can go to these categories, that's great. Again, at most library sales, most people flock right to the textbooks. It's great if you're there early. You can certainly find $100 books, $50 books very quickly. However, after you burn through the textbooks real quickly, where do you go next? Obviously, people say reference or nonfiction. That's a good starting point, but specifically, you can hone in. So if you see me at a library sale, I'm probably going to be in the music section or the car repair manuals, because those tend to do really well as well. So those are some of the categories. Hopefully that helps you a little bit as you go sourcing. When it comes to thrift stores, they're not often organized all that well, so that's not going to help you as much. We'll take questions in just a minute. I want Matthew, I'll stop talking, I've been talking way too much. Matthew, I want to share some other tips that he did during his 100 book challenge. So if you guys followed along with Matthew and John's journey, they went in and tried to find 100 books a week, documented the challenge, showed what they found, how they listed them, how much profit they made. They actually shared, kind of peeled back the curtain and shared their business with all of you, which was really cool. And he developed a pretty good tip because he would hit the same thrift stores regularly in the Denver area. So you want to walk through some of the tagging system and how to find good value?
Yeah, if you guys haven't gone to the 100 Book Challenge yet, check it out at the100bookchallenge.com. 100 numbers, bookchallenge.com. You can check it out there. But yeah, one of the big things I noticed the first 2 weeks is I found about 5 or 10 stores I was going to consistently, but every time I'd go in, they weren't organized at all. Things were just thrown wherever they could. But I knew I'd seen some of these books before. I was like, I know I've scanned these books before. I know they're not turning inventory that quickly. And so I noticed a lot of the stores, they'll have those colored tags in the back of the books. And those colored tags let them know how long those books have been on the shelves. It depends on where you're sourcing from. Some people do colors based on the month. Some people change them out every single week so they can see how quickly they're going through their books. But if you ask one of the employees, or if you just pay attention, it's probably easier to ask one of the employees that work there, what color is the most recent books, and go through and just scan those. I found my accept rate was almost the exact same, or actually I found the number of books I was taking from a store was about the exact same, but the time I spent there was significantly less because I was scanning a lot fewer books. Because if you're scanning the same books over and over again, you're wasting your time, and if they're a reject the first time, they're going to be a reject the second time. So instead of wasting your time and scanning books people have maybe been scanning for the past month or two, figure out which the newest books are by the tag color, scan just those books, grab those, and move on to your next location a lot quicker than trying to scan every book on the shelf and repeating work you've probably already done in the past. So that was a big tip that helped me lower the amount of time I was spending and get that down significantly from those first 2 weeks I started the 100 Book Challenge.
Love it. So again, if you are starting out, I actually would recommend doing this if people go in and say, I can't find anything in the store, right? So maybe the store is picked over, maybe they're selling online, maybe someone beat you to it, maybe there's just not good books there, you never know. Again, scouting books is really more about, and Reezy kind of explains this quite a bit, but scouting books is how quickly you can get through the duds. At a normal thrift store, your accept rate is going to be 2 to 3, maybe 5% at a good store. If it's a great store and it's never been picked over before, you might be in the 10% range. But you're typically looking at 2 to 3%. So if you scan 100 books, you might find 2 winners. So that's a lot of scanning. That's why it's important to have a database app, a barcode scanner, because the faster you can get through the duds, the more efficiently you can do that, the more you're going to pull the gold out of that straw. So, or kind of find that needle in the haystack. So again, if you're just starting off, I would highly recommend knuckle down, take some time, and actually go scan every single book in the store. It might seem senseless. You might go, man, everybody says fiction is worthless. I kind of agree. Go through the habit and go through the headache. It's a great learning process. Scan every single book. It might take you all day. It might take you 2 days, but do that. You will learn so much. And keep your eye. Don't just blindly scan, but as you're scanning, if something turns green, kind of look and go, hey, what category is this? What type of book looks good? There's millions of books out there, right? There's over 20 million books on Amazon with a sales rank. So we don't expect you to recognize a book by its cover and go, I've seen that book before, it's worth money. That's not really likely, although you will find a few that do stand out. Margin of Safety is certainly one you should be looking for. It's kind of a blue and white book. But you're not really going to recognize the books, but learn to start recognizing categories and try and play some games too. Like before you scan the book, real quickly in your head go, is this going to be a winner or a loser? Yep. And you will kind of get that feedback as you go. But scan all the books, learn which categories work. So in fiction, manga's really good. There are some children's books that actually sell really well. You'll start to kind of learn which categories or subcategories or niches actually will make you money, and you can go back there in the future. And then as you improve, especially if you're in a city and have limited time, you don't want to scan every single book. You want to try and eyeball what's good. So what Matthew said is exactly right. Look at whatever the new color is that week. A lot of times you have to ask a store associate and say, hey, what's the color of the week? What's the new color? If it's blue, basically skip everything else unless it really stands out to you. Go scan all the blue stuff. Because if a scanner was in last week, most of the rest of it may have been picked over. Versus blue, you have the best chance of finding new stuff, maybe even put out that day. The other thing you should look at is most stores, let's say they're on a 6-week cycle, whatever color is about ready to be pulled off the shelf and replaced, let's say it's red, will usually be 50% off. So in Denver, there's a store that charges $2 to $5 to $6 per book, and half off of a $6 book, it actually may become profitable. So a $6 book that nets you $7, let's call it, so you only make $1 profit, isn't really worth buying. But if you can pick it up for $3 and turn it into $7, all of a sudden it's worth buying.
Yeah.
So scan the new colors, scan the old colors, and then over time you'll kind of learn which books to scan to be able to get in and out quickly. A couple other ways to make money and kind of maximize your sourcing, and then we will jump in and answer some of your questions, is if you're brave, if you're willing to do it, ask for backroom access. Say, hey, I'm buying a lot of books. Do you guys have more books in the back that maybe you haven't put on the shelves yet? I'll buy them from you. I'll pay whatever the normal price is, $1, $2, $5, whatever it is, and just say, hey, I'd love to buy a few more books off your hands. Can I help free up some space in the back room? Worst they could say is no. They're not going to laugh at you. They're not going to kick you out of the store. Just even when you're checking out, they go, hey, you're buying a lot of books. Great. Can I get in the back room? Do you guys have other books in the back that you wouldn't mind me taking a few minutes to scan? Again, worst they can say is no. If they say yes, it's almost always going to be unpicked. You're going to have pretty free reign. Make sure you pay them well for the books. Maybe tip the person to let you back there, and kind of encourage that behavior and build a relationship, because that's where it's going to come into play.
You'd be surprised how many books they have tucked away in the back of the store. Just because they might not put out very much doesn't mean they don't have buckets full in the back that they're trying to sort through. So
yeah,
always ask and see what you can find. It might surprise you.
And again, when you go to garage sales, do the same thing. We do this a lot when we went garage sale, and we did a video a couple weeks back. But ask, hey, do you guys have any books? And like, oh, I didn't even think to put those out. Yeah, hang on a second, I'll bring them out. Or, hey, I've got 5 shelves in my basement full. Do you mind coming in and just taking a peek? So again, it opens the door. The more you talk about what you do, the more doors will open up, even though it's a little bit nerve-wracking to do so at first if that's not your personality. Another thing you should do in thrift stores, library sales, everywhere, is anything that doesn't have a barcode. So this is just a plain black book, the dust jacket's been removed. Anything without a barcode, most scanners, and I hate to say it because a lot of you aren't, but most scanners are fairly lazy. So go ahead and take the book, open the front cover. You got a couple options. One, you can type the title in, you can do speech to text, but on the back side of the title page, it'll have the ISBN. We're working on optical character recognition. It's working really, really well on Android, and we're very close on iOS. But basically, you can just take your phone's camera, either type in the ISBN or use the camera and get a picture of it, essentially. It'll pull up the book. Because instead of just literally pulling the book off the shelf and hitting it with a scanner, it takes, 5 more seconds, 10 more seconds to open the book, find the title page, and either type it in or scan it. If you're willing to do that extra step, most of these books have not been picked over. And even if the store sells online, a lot of times they're fairly lazy and won't actually look at these either. So by all means, do the type-ins where they just have the number written on the back cover. Go where other people won't. So the bottom shelf, people don't like to bend over or get on their hands and knees. So go to the bottom shelf and scan those books. Those are often left. Go to the top shelf. Again, if you're tall, I'm 6 foot, so that's helpful. But if you're not as tall, people don't like to reach up to the very, very tippy top shelf. Do that as well. So go where people won't. Back room, do type-ins, do your research, use the Amazon Seller app, use their facial recognition feature. It's really cool for reading the covers. So those are all really good ways that you can just try and extract more value from what you're doing already. But by all means, if you're able to, again, anybody with a smartphone is your competitor. Anybody that has, almost everybody has a smartphone. If you can do this and use your phone camera or get a $50 scanner or a $100 scanner, you can be in business as a bookseller. So if you're just going to thrift stores, that's great. You might be able to find a lot of books, good for you. If you can find ways to be social, to go on Marketplace, to go on Craigslist, to find books and get them to come to your door, if you can do that or go to the books before they go to the thrift stores, you're going to put yourself in a very good spot. Any other comments on maximizing your thrifting or sourcing?
No, just like Caleb said, a lot of times when the most inconvenient things almost didn't do. I remember one specific time there's a bunch of textbooks, of course, instead of putting them side by side, they stacked in a giant stack like this. You don't want to take off each one of them and do it, but sure enough, I found a $50 book stacked in the middle because no one had taken the time to get all those books out, go through them, and find them. So yeah, get uncomfortable, get places where other people won't do it, and you'll find a lot more doing it that way.
And if you don't believe us, if you see another person in a store scouting,
yeah, watch them.
Watch them. Just sit back. Don't be creepy. Don't stand right next to them glaring at them, but just sit back and watch what they do. And I guarantee you, they're probably not going to be methodical and hit every single book. So again, I love to go. Thrift stores are notorious for miscategorizing. So just because fiction is not worth money most of the time, right? Or kids' books are not worth money most of the time, whatever lies you choose to believe, go to those sections and kind of glance through them. A lot of times you'll get books that are kind of mispriced or miscategorized, and you might even find textbooks in the kids' book section that your competitors might have left behind.
Yeah.
One last tip, this is more relevant for bookstores that price, or thrift stores that price variably, meaning the bigger the book, the more money they charge for it, right? So some stores like Goodwill's are mostly 50 cents for softcover, $1 for softcover, $2, $2.50 for hardcover, right? So they have two prices, softcover, hardcover, that's it. That's all the rules that there are. Some stores put a sticker on every single book and they're actually manually priced. And when they do that, they're not usually sophisticated, scanning it and saying, hey, it's $18 on Amazon like McKay's does. We're going to charge $9 in the store, $12 in the store. They're not necessarily that fancy. All they're doing is going, small hardcover book, $2. Textbook, large, $12. Why not, right? So if they do that, that can deter you. Don't be afraid to pay more. And if I can spend $12 on a book and turn it into $30, I'm doing that every day. I don't care if cash is tight. That's a great investment versus trying to find 10 books for $1 that sell for $3 profit. Go for the bigger profit. It's much more efficient. But what I like to do in those cases is I go and find small softcover books, business books, religious books, even some textbooks are softcover. A lot of workbooks are softcover. Look for those. So if they're going to try and gouge you on the expensive or the big books and charge a lot of money for them, go find the small ones and you'll learn to develop an eye for doing that. So hopefully those are a couple things you can be doing. All right, let's answer some questions. You want to pull some stuff on Facebook and I'll pull some on YouTube?
Yeah, we'll go back and forth.
So if you guys have questions, again, thanks for being here. We have 108 people on Facebook watching right now. That's awesome. Sorry, on YouTube. We had closer to 50 on Facebook. We have 30 right now, so that's awesome as well.
150 users for a little while. Yeah.
So guys, thanks for being here. Go ahead and post some comments. We're going to take your questions. We've been yapping for half an hour. Again, real quick plug, if you want to come to Chicago and meet up with some fellow resellers, I believe Reezy will be in the house. Reezy resells. Avery, Romer the Martin. Avery Martin, Romer the Romer. Myself, Travis Wren from Accelerlist. David Chung, maybe, he's 50-50. Matt Adolph, and Steve Rakin. We've got a really good crowd going to be coming out there. We also need some female speakers. We're very male oriented, and that's the state of the industry.
About that. Definitely a lack of women in the field.
Yes, I agree. So if there's some good female speakers, we actually reached out to Hustle at Home Mom. I believe it's Cashley or Ashley. We reached out to her. She's considering it. I don't know if she can get away on short notice. If you guys know some female speakers, we'd love to get a different perspective in there. We're not trying to be chauvinistic or male dominated in this industry. It just kind of is the nature of who we are, right? We attract people that are similar to us. So our demographic here is 20 to 30-year-olds, white males. So we'd love to get a little more diversity and especially some female speakers. So if you guys know of any, drop me a line. If you want to come join us in Chicago, it's a day-and-a-half event. We kind of do some networking. We set it up as a Thursday night for a social event and then a Friday all day. And then the reason we did that is Chicago is a great town to hang out. Travis loves that town. He will show us a good time, show us some of the local bars, restaurants, some of the cool places to hang out. So we've left Saturday wide open if you've never been to Chicago or you want to spend some time. It won't be an official Turn the Page event on Saturday, but we will certainly be hanging out on Saturday as a group. So we'll make sure it's worth your time. Come on out. You can join us bit.ly, bit.ly/TTP Chicago, all lowercase, no space. So bit.ly/TTP Chicago. We have just a couple tickets left, so by all means go ahead and jump on those. All right, Matthew's got some questions and from Facebook, then we'll take some from YouTube and we'll jump in from there.
Someone said, where is it? I just swiped up. Basically, they're asking, can Scout IQ do other things other than books?
Yeah, so Scout IQ, we're geared toward books, but it works for anything. Our database is books only, but if you do live lookup, so if you connect your Amazon account at our web portal,
DVDs, CDs, and other
you can look up anything with a barcode, so or anything with a title. We do have triggers now for CDs, DVDs, and video games, and we probably will roll out other triggers shortly. Our books database is getting a massive overhaul. We've been crowdsourcing for ever since we launched 18 months ago. We've got a lot of new data that we've been tracking now. We've built out e-scores, and we're working on finding a way to better compress that data, and that's very close as well. So OCR should be coming out in the relative future, maybe a week or two, maybe sooner. Don't hold us to it. Everything always takes longer in tech. And then a full database. I mean, probably 99% of books will be in this new database, which will be great. What other questions from Facebook?
Would you recommend FBM or FBA with books?
Yeah, so age-old question, should I merchant fulfilled? So fulfilled by merchant or MF, or should I FBA, fulfilled by Amazon? I'm always going to opt toward FBA just because I want the flexibility. I'm on the road 40 to 50% of the year. I really value travel and freedom and flexibility. And so using FBA for me is always going to be my preference, even if it costs more. We've actually done some analysis. If you guys have watched some of the interviews with Greg Murphy and myself, we actually looked at the average prime bump, and it's between $3.50 to $5, and that more than offsets the extra fees associated with FBA. And especially on textbooks, that prime bump is even higher. So I'm always going to be geared toward FBA. I think there's a pretty good case that it sells for higher dollar values. Merchant fulfilled, it's easier to get started. You don't have to figure out how to label, list, ship to Amazon. You don't have to pay for shipping to Amazon. So it is cheaper. You can set up a bookshelf in your house. You can list items. They can sell the same day. So you have a little more control over the system for those that are a little more OCD. That's a pretty good way to do it. As well as you can be making money right away. Your cash flow is going to be better. And believe it or not, I've talked to a number of MF sellers. You're going to sell more of your items faster. So price is the most relevant piece on Amazon. So you can certainly get a premium for FBA, but you will sell items a little bit slower. Kind of an average turn rate for FBA sellers is 4 to 5% a week. For merchant fulfilled, it's usually closer to 7 to 8 to 10%. So the turn rate, if you do it right, if you price better for merchant fulfilled, which you have to do, you can't price higher and win the buy box, right? But if you want to go merchant fulfilled, I've heard that you can sell a little faster, and you won't have to spend the money to ship the books before they sell. So there are some benefits to merchant fulfilled, but again, I'm always going to be opting toward FBA.
Yeah, so Brian says, can you make a full-time income doing online arbitrage? I know you need a lot of capital, which I have. So online arbitrage, can people make full-time incomes doing it?
Yeah, so online arbitrage, there's a number of ways to do it. One is if you're not doing books, you can buy stuff. Tactical arbitrage is a fantastic software. I don't use it because I pretty much sell books, but I've dabbled, and the guys that run it are top-notch dudes. So tactical arbitrage is a great software you can use to find products basically on Walmart or any other website. You can essentially plug it in. It runs it all through Amazon and says, hey, this item you can pay $20 and it's selling for $35 on Amazon. So it'll give you those options. For online arbitrage for books, we have a software called eFlip. That makes money really two ways. One is buy low merchant fulfilled items and resell Prime. You can win the buy box Prime. You get that Prime bump, especially with textbooks. So you can make money doing that. And really where the most money can be made during that is textbook season. So buy books right now in the off season in the summer. We're actually going to be running a special for the summer again. So we can put some details down there as well.
And we can talk about it in a second too.
Yeah. So you can buy books in the off season, like right now in the summer, and a lot of textbooks go way up in August and September, as well as also in January. So you get kind of two big peak seasons for textbooks. If you buy books in the off season, you can really ramp up and buy books for $20 now that might be selling Prime for $30, but in season they might be going for 50 or 60 merchant fulfilled and maybe 100 Prime. So that's a really good way to do it. Can you make a full-time income? I know people that do. Most of them prefer to stay quiet about it, but there is one of our guys. I won't call him out because I don't think he wants to be known, but he spends about most of his time, I don't know if it's half or more, but he alternates between Thailand, I think Costa Rica, Mexico, and he literally just buys books, uses a prep company, uses eFlip, uses a prep company, and basically runs his business, and eFlip supports, I don't know if it's 100%, but it primarily supports his traveling habits. So yes, you can. It does take capital. It does take some experience and an account that's pretty much ungated in all popular textbooks, popular books, etc. So you want to talk about our special we're running?
Yeah, so starting July 1st, and if online arbitrage has ever interested you guys, if you've looked at eFlip, maybe you've tried it out in the past, we're doing a 14-day challenge, kind of similar to the 100-book challenge, but for online arbitrage and eFlip. It'll start July 1st. And the goal with this is basically figuring out a system that fits your budget, the capital you have, to be able to do it consistently and sustainably. So whether you've got $100 to invest a week or $1,000 to invest a week, we're going to figure out how to break that down into manageable chunks you can do each day, and figure out either how to use eFlip to supplement your physical sourcing. Maybe you can do physical sourcing 1 week and the next week it's busy, so you can spend some time on your computer in the comfort of your home and buy a few books through eFlip and kind of supplement with online arbitrage. Or if you've been doing physical sourcing for a long time and you're ready to invest some more capital and try and go to eFlip, it's another way you can start doing it to supplement your income, or just figure out how much you're trying to make each month, break it down and what you need to do each day to get there. Then we'll go over some different methods for how you can accomplish that with eFlip, whether it be textbooks or getting that prime bump, a few different ways. So it's really geared towards beginners that haven't done eFlip a lot in the past. If you are experienced, you're welcome to join the challenge as well and help out some of the other beginners that'll be doing it with us. But we'll do a big discount, probably tomorrow or Friday we can push it out. Because July 1st is Monday, I believe. Yeah, Monday.
That's crazy. Half the year's done.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's already July 1st. So if you're new to eFlip, you can either just do the trial, do the 14-day challenge with the trial of eFlip. That's perfectly fine. It's a 21-day trial, correct, for eFlip? Yeah. And go for it that way. Or if you're ready to jump in, we're going to do a big discount and do 3 months for $159. Normally that'll be $237, so it's a pretty significant discount. If you're ready to jump in, give it 3 months. And right now in the summer, like Caleb said, is a great time to buy textbooks for the end of August, beginning of September. You have enough time to get some books, get them shipped in, and get some revenue from that textbook season. So you can sign up. I think it's bit.ly/eFlip challenge, all lowercase, one word. I'll throw that in the comments here too if you guys want to do that challenge. You can sign up there, and then we'll send out the pricing information if you're wanting to get that 3-month membership as well.
Sweet. Couple more Facebook questions, and then we'll jump over to YouTube.
Yeah, so let me see here.
And again, if you have questions, we will try and answer as many as we can. We're going to stay on for about 20 more minutes. Again, the goal for today was to try and help you understand what are some different ways to find profitable inventory, what are the best categories to go to in a library sale, which can be mayhem, it can be very hectic, so how do you maximize your time? As well as when you're in thrift stores, how do you kind of maximize your sourcing time so you can hit as many stores as possible and try and pull as much value off the shelves. So if you're just tuning in now, go ahead and you can go back in time and watch that, or catch it after this live stream ends. It'll be available on Facebook and on YouTube. And so you can definitely catch that and try and brush up and try and improve some of your scouting tips as well.
So Carl says, what do you do with your excess books? We obtain about 3,000 books each week. I think he's talking about duds. What do you do with your duds, excess books?
This is Carl.
Question.
Yeah, good question. So Carl's getting 3,000 books a week. Michael, actually, we just interviewed him on the channel, I think yesterday. He does something similar. He drives around town. He does free book pickups in the community. So if you end up with a lot of books, inevitably, 90 to 95% of them will be duds. They're not worth selling on Amazon. Now, a couple things you can do. You actually can make money selling on eBay. You can sell the book for basically $3.50, $3.99, and even after fees and shipping, if you have bulk shipping rates, not media mail, you can actually make a little bit of money, 50 cents, 25 cents here and there on eBay. So I know some sellers that are doing that model. Yep. It's a volume game to make very little money per book, but that's certainly an outlet. A couple other things you can do with it is you can actually batch them up into sections. So let's say you have 50 kids books. You could put those together on like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist and say, hey, 50 kids books for $5, $10. See if you can move them that way. The other thing you can do, if you guys live within driving distance of McKay's, Second and Charles, Half Price Books, or even a lot of just hole-in-the-wall bookstores will do this. You can go on in, you can actually they'll usually limit what you can bring in, but you can bring in 2 or 3 or 4 tubs of books at a time, drop them off, they're going to scan them into their system, and they'll say, hey, we can give you $25 cash or $45 store credit, for example. And then you can use that store credit, buy books to flip, or just take the cash. That's a way to do it. Otherwise, donate them to Goodwill. Maybe dump them in, I didn't say this, but dump them in Better World Books container. Don't do that. That's not a good move. Although they probably have other ways to monetize than most of us do. So those are some ways to get rid of them. Again, when you play the bulk game, if you buy books by the Gaylord or the truckload, or if you go in and source them locally, you're going to end up with a lot of duds. So those are some good ways. If you guys have other ways to monetize duds, comment below so other people can get some value out of that as well.
How often do you reprice your items on Amazon?
I don't really reprice. I like to reposition. So I'm repositioning my inventory every 2 to 3 weeks. When it gets to textbook season, I'll be a little more aggressive. But for me, I like to be third in line and kind of hold my price. So if I'm repricing every 10 minutes or every 20 minutes, I'm always going to be third in line. I'm very rarely going to get that sale. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just recalibrate. If I've got a book that was third in line and now 10 people have undercut me, I want to kind of move back to third in line if it's selling well, if the e-score is good, for example. And so I'm trying to reposition. And for me, I'm just trying to do that every 2 to 3 weeks. I could do it more often. You definitely get a little bump when you do reprice or reposition. But for me, I'd rather just kind of optimize that way. Again, the 2 key metrics I'm tracking, I track 3. One is how many books I'm sourcing and listing. The other 2 metrics are related to sell-through. So how many books am I selling? What's my turn rate? So if I have 1,000 books in inventory and I sell 50 in a week, that's 5% turn rate. I'm also tracking the ASP, or the average selling price. So what I'm trying to do when I reprice is kind of balance those two. For me, 4 to 5 to 6% is kind of is my sweet spot. It's right in my wheelhouse. And so if I'm selling 5% of my inventory a week, I don't care. I don't need to reprice. I'm happy with that. That usually keeps the average selling price a little bit higher. If I try and reprice really aggressively, I might be able to bump that turn rate to 6, 7, 8, 10%, but my average selling price will likely drop as well. My profit will drop. So you have to try and balance those 2 numbers. On the other end, if I'm just trying to price really high and just extract the most value from my books, my ASP might go really high, but my turn rate might go to 1 or 2%. So you have to balance those in your business, and you really got to figure out what makes sense there. Any more questions on Facebook? Otherwise, we'll jump to YouTube.
We can jump to YouTube.
All right.
There's a question, I'm sure.
We got people from Lansing, Michigan. Hopefully you're a green and white fan. Chad, thought you're going to make it easier to scan books with only ISBNs. Yes, it's called OCR, coming soon. Lauren Wilcox says, I like the sticker on your laptop. Lauren, if you want one, drop me a line. I can mail you one. I'll barter. So I've actually started doing this. I get a few people that reach out and ask if I do consulting. I don't really do it. I don't love one-on-one consulting just because it's not scalable. I also end up answering the same questions over and over. However, I'll throw this out there. If you guys want some stickers, if you want some consulting, if you want some Scout IQ swag, drop me a line. I'm always open to bartering. If you have a side hustle, if you make something cool like Gumroad t-shirts, or if you have a favorite coffee or something, let's talk. Drop me a line. I'm always open to bartering. I find that it's way cooler. I've done some consulting for a bookstore chain actually, and the owner was trying to figure out how to pay me, and she was asking what my rate is. I'm like, look, that's great, you can pay me. I'm gonna forget about you soon. Send me some swag. Send me some gear from your store. So I got some really cool stuff from them. That was awesome. So I'd love to haggle to find something cool. So if you guys want stickers or some consulting, let's do that. Just finished my second week of the free trial. Definitely a keeper. Love it. I like the IQ part of the name. I adopted it in my Chrome extension. I don't know what Chrome extension that is. Let us know. I like to make stuff. Love it. What's up, fam? Stoked to be here. Absolutely. Just curious, why do some books with a 20,000 rank sometimes have no e-score? So if you see dash on Scout IQ, that doesn't mean 0. That means it's not in our database just yet. We do crowdsource, so it will be finding its way in. So dash is very different than 0. E-score of 0 means it has not sold in the last 6 months. E-score of dash means it's not in our database. It means null. It's a fancy term for that. So check that out. Look at the rank in those cases. Jack says, this Friday is my first library sale. Awesome. Make sure you go early. Pay for the early entry fee if you have to do that to get early access. That's the only way to do it. Any tips? Yeah, check out the categories we just did. Bring some bins. Make sure you have all your scanner charged. Bring a backup scanner. Make sure your app is ready to go the night before. Make sure everything's ready to go and hooked up, because in the heat of the battle, things go wrong.
Yep.
So make sure you're ready there. Stop smiling, John Rose. I don't know who that is.
You're doing emojis.
Danny says, Caleb, I want to go in your live. Maybe a future one, Danny. What if there's no buy box on the listing? So there's almost always a buy box in the app. Amazon will tell you what the buy box is. Sometimes they do suppress the buy box. If there's no qualified sellers selling it, or if they deem that it's too expensive, they'll actually suppress or hide the buy box. So that just means you can price kind of where you want relative to everybody else, or you could try and undercut and price where Amazon thinks that a reasonable price is and get that working. Frank Mann says, if you can go to a Turn the Page conference, go. I've been to 2 of them, and you will pay for the conference in the first hour of the meetup. Be sure to ask Matt Adolph about selling chicken blank on Amazon. True story. Conley Video says, how do I get on gated and used books? I'm gated in some top brands with retail arbitrage, but not used books. How do I get on gated? Books are usually an ungated category.
You might have scanned the wrong book that you happen to be gated in, but probably not all used books.
No, most books are open. However, there are some that are gated. There's a shoe brand that keeps getting called up every once in a while. I forget the brands. Sometimes you can just request permission. Amazon also restricts some popular textbooks, especially if you're a newer seller or if you've had a counterfeit claim. It's not a huge chunk, but it can affect it. You can ask us offline. I might be able to walk you through some of that. All right, we had some category ones. What else we got? Saxon math textbook, over 20 years old, still worth $20 to $30. Yeah, there's a lot of elementary
doesn't
school.
change too much.
Well, Common Core changed it.
Yeah, that's true.
My most expensive book was an architecture book. Yeah, the more specific you can do, that's what happens. So eFlip Challenge, yep, July 1st. I just got a truckload, oh my goodness, truck bed full of free library books to go through. I'm on my way to pick up some free teaching books right now.
That's
Guys, there are
awesome.
books everywhere. Good work, Jay Burbs. Greg Henry, where to sell teacher editions. Many are listed on Amazon, but I know it's a no-no to sell them. Good question. All right, so on Amazon, if you guys look on YouTube, go and say, why does my textbook have tape on it? You'll find a video that I walk through this. So you are not allowed to sell on Amazon. They're not illegal to sell, you just can't sell them on Amazon. It's Amazon's rules, their sandbox. We have to play by their rules. You cannot sell
Teacher edition.
international editions if they're not on the listing. You're not allowed to sell, teacher editions are fine. And you can't sell complimentary copies. So a lot of textbooks will have like blue and red like markings on them that say complimentary copy, not for resale, or free copy, not for resale. Amazon's rule says you're not allowed to sell those. You can't sell advanced reading copies either. And then international editions, if there's a separate listing on Amazon, it's okay to list it on Amazon. Okay. If it's not, if you're trying to list under the US edition, that's a no-no. It happens all the time. People do it. I don't know how they get away with it, but don't do that. You are allowed to sell all of those on eBay. No problems there. Amazon, that's their rules. It's their market. So eBay is a great chance to do that.
Right along with that, I actually have a question on Facebook about how do you tell if a book is counterfeit. So along with ones you can't sell, you also can't sell counterfeit books. Are there tips to knowing about a counterfeit book?
Oh man, counterfeit books is going to be a whole separate video. We're going to have to get some experts involved. There are counterfeit books out there. Unfortunately, there's probably a lot of counterfeit books out there. Be careful. Basically, if the paper quality feels inferior, if you look at the text and it's blurry, if it's black and white when it should be color, a lot of those are tip-offs. Some of the counterfeit books are really, really good. We'll save that for another video. That's going to be very in-depth. Other questions. How to handle Amazon when they lose your best book? Why don't they lose the cheap books? Well, they lose lots of books. So if you're selling FBA, Amazon loses it. A lot of times their standard reimbursement is like 6 cents or 12 cents or 25 cents. A lot of times, though, if it's like a $20 FBA book, you can certainly reach back out and say, hey, you guys reimburse me 12 cents. However, it's selling right now for 20. After fees, it'd be $12.50. Please reimburse me $12.50 since you lost my book, or replace it with another copy. A lot of times you can actually get Amazon to give you some more money that way. Someone says to scan every book builds the grind. Yeah, to some extent, and then learn how to be smarter over time. But again, start with books that way. If you have a room and a way to dispose of duds, don't be afraid to ask for cleaning out books in the back. A lot of smaller thrift stores just throw away books. Absolutely. If you have a pickup truck or some way to move a lot of books, just say, hey, I'll give you $50 for all the spare books in your back room. You might be surprised you could pick that up as well. Many profitable books I scanned in Europe have no FBA offers. How do I price those relative to merchant fulfilled? So I know in the UK there is no used buy box on books. Amazon just doesn't do it. So they don't really feature the FBA offers. And because of that, you can't get that much of a premium, at least from what I've talked to a few sellers over there. If you are in the UK, if you're in Europe, let me know if that's different. But I do know that in the UK, based on my limited experience, so take this with a grain of salt, is that there's not as big of a prime bump, and so you might have to price closer to the merchant fulfilled offers because there is no buy box. Is it better to sell on eBay or Amazon? We're going to be biased toward Amazon. There's more people looking for books on Amazon. eBay's great for collectible, old stuff, international editions that you can't sell on Amazon. And there certainly are people making an entire income just selling on eBay, especially merchant fulfilled sellers that list onto both platforms. But for us, we're going to be more geared toward Amazon. All right, we'll answer some more questions here. Let's see what else we got. How do y'all, we'll get to that second. Really appreciate all the help and information. Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Is there another platform other than books to sell Is there another platform other than eBay to sell books that we aren't approved to sell on Amazon? You can also sell on a Libris. I believe half.com got shut down. There's some other websites as well. Go to bookfinder.com and enter your book, and you'll see all the platforms that it's being sold on. You can list onto some of those as well. Any timeline on expanding Scout IQ outside the U.S., specifically Canada? So we are actually looking to roll out Scout IQ. We were talking about it as a team last week. We're building the databases right now, building eScore. Then we have to build out the pipeline, make sure that we can automate everything. We are looking at back half of this year, so 3 to 6 months away, give or take. Again, no specific timeline just as of yet, but we are very excited. We've got a wait list, people that want us to come to the UK and Canada. If you guys aren't on that list yet, please add your name. That'll help us know that we have more support and we can kind of push that faster and spend more money to speed it up. scoutiq.co/countries, all one word, all lowercase. So of course it's one word, it is one word. So scoutiq.co/countries. Are we going to put a link up for Chicago? I believe we already did that. Do you think you can make 6 figures doing eFlip? Yes, but it will take cash to be able to jump into that and some experience. I do know several sellers that sell 6 figures. They don't make 6 figures in a month, but they sell 6 figures in January alone. Where can we get one of those t-shirts? These are not for sale. We just got these because we went to an event in town. They are limited edition. I don't know. Reach out to Gumroad. They might mail you one. My business has plateaued, making 6 figures profit this year, 3rd year in the business. What are some additional ways to scale? I'm doing some online arbitrage, considering a book pickup service. At some point, you're going to reach your what do we call this? Plateau, but equilibrium point. You're going to reach your equilibrium point, and that's when, let's say you have 5,000 books in inventory, you're selling 5% a week. So let's say you're selling 250 books a week, and you're also replacing that or replenishing with 250 books a week. Your inventory is just going to stay stagnant. You're selling, you're replenishing, selling, replenishing, and you're just going to be in that 5,000 book mark until you can find a way to do 500 books a week and start growing your inventory. So DP, if you're stuck, you might be doing the max that you can in your time in your city. It's time to reach out to other avenues. Find maybe other products to sell. Find some wholesale where you can buy something once and sell thousands of it without having to go back out. Build a scout team. We've got some really good videos. We've got a great hidden mode where you can push it remotely. So get some scouters, look at auctions, find books that aren't on the market yet, but really try and build your team. And maybe it's, if you don't trust someone to go out scouting, that's fine. Build a team where they can list. And now instead of spending 60% of your time scouting and 40% listing, hire someone to list and take 100% or 95% to go and scout. So find ways to do that. Build your team. You're not going to be able to do it just yourself. Is it possible to make this a full-time income, just sourcing myself, or eventually will I need to hire scouters? Depends on what you're trying to replace. If you're trying to make 30, 40 grand a year and you live in a market that has good thrift stores and good library sales, or you're willing to travel, absolutely, there's tons of people making 30, 40, 50 grand a year after all fees, all expenses, not before taxes, but there's people I know making 6 and even 7 figures. I know people are making, I don't know about 7 figures profit in book business, but I know people making 6 figures profit selling several $1 million a year. So it's definitely doable. Most of those people do have teams or do play in the bulk space, but that teams are definitely a good way to do it. Bulk sources for 5 to 15 Gaylords at a time. Call your thrift stores, ask them if you can buy 10 Gaylords at a time. That's, again, a very common term in this industry, so do that. It's not a bad option. Just call thrift stores and say, hey, what are you doing with the books you can't put on your shelves? Greg Murphy has a lot of good content on that as well. How do you find people to work for you to source books? So I actually talked to someone at Greg's event about 2 months ago that uses TaskRabbit. So that's a tool you can use where you find people to do odd jobs for you, and they actually had them using hidden mode and scouting books for them and reimbursing them for paying them an hourly rate plus buying the books back that they're purchasing. So that's an option. You can also, I tried hiring on Craigslist, but most people don't take it seriously. Yeah, when we built our scout team, we had scouts in I believe 12 different states, and pretty much for every 3 to 4 people we hired, 1 was actually pretty decent. So it's a numbers game. Hire 4 people, plan to fire 3 of them or let them go within a month or 2, and just distill that down to 1. How do y'all pay your scouters? If you're saying y'all are probably from the South, we pay them with cash. It's a good thing. I tried Bitcoin, they said no. But seriously
happy
though,
about it now, though.
Yeah, Bitcoin's going back up for all you doubters out there. And anyway, we won't get into that. How do you pay your scouters? 2 options that kind of work really well. Pay them a flat rate per book, so $3, $4 depending on the market you're in. If books are cheap, pay them $2 a book. The more you pay them, the more they're going to go find, but the fewer books they will find. So find that balance. So just a flat rate. If they can get books for free or cheap, good on them. Just say that a flat rate for what turns green with your triggers, for example. The other way to do it, if you trust them, teach them to read the data. This is the way we did it, and then take a percentage of the business. We would take 20% of sales, pay them the rest, They had to buy their books. We would provide the system, provide the software, provide the tools. You get into some gray areas with independent contractor versus employee, so W-2 versus 1099. Make sure you talk to some tax people to kind of do that properly. But that kind of worked out pretty well. Personally, I like the consignment option. I'd rather work together and everybody benefits together. Jack says, I live in an area that has a good selection at thrift stores. I feel like I'm missing out on flipping online. How would you approach it? Should I keep sourcing in person until it's dry? If you've got great thrift stores, by all means, go crazy. Maybe replace yourself, hire someone to go do it for you. Make sure you trust them so they don't just become your competition, because that does happen. But if you've got great physical books, learn the ropes there. Make your mistakes on $1 and $2 books before you branch into online arbitrage, where you're making mistakes with $10 and $20 and $50 books. But online arbitrage is a great way to scale up. Make sure you understand the business first. When items don't get repriced because there wasn't enough competing offers or whatever the issue is, how do you deal with them? You got to price them manually or change your settings. Unfortunately, most repricing software, as Greg Murphy says, is like using a chainsaw when you need a scalpel. So you need a scalpel, you need to be fine-tuned, but it's just a chainsaw. It's just going to saw right through it. It's not perfect. It's better than nothing. As your inventory grows, you almost definitely need a repricer. But you might have to do some manually stuff there as well. How do we tell if a book found through eFlip may be only selling on the Keep It chart because of resellers buying them to flip? Good question. If you see 2 or 3 or 4 sales in 6 months, those could be resellers trying to buy it and flip it. If you're seeing a good textbook pattern and good metrics, I wouldn't be worried about 1 or 2 resellers in the game. You're going to still have the overall demand will far outweigh that. All right, other questions we got, and then we will jump from here.
Yeah, we're doing right about an hour now. So
yeah, we're right at an hour. Sorry if we didn't get to your question. We'll try and answer some of these later. Let's see here. What happens if a book says not for resale or review copies? You cannot sell those. We already talked about that. Any foolproof way to fix books with significant bending? Hire some really heavy people to stand on it. There's not a great way. You could probably play with some humidity, but if a book is kind of wavy or bent, if it's not water damage, just bent, you can stack up a big pile of books on top of it and leave that for a couple days. But honestly, just sell it as acceptable and move on. I'm not really a big fan of trying to fix or doctor up books. I don't try and take library stickers off. Just spend your time and go find more books. Rather than trying to take a $10 book and turn it into a $12 book, go find 10 more books in that same amount of time. Let's see what else we got. Just hired first part-time lister. That's awesome. We got some Trump comments. We'll leave those out. Is the Chicago show listed on YouTube? Yeah, bit.ly/TTP Chicago.
I put a link if you scroll back up a little bit more. I don't know if you can search my name in there, but if you scroll back up, you should see the link to that. Turn the page.
Are there still thrift stores that don't scan them before they put them on the shelves? Absolutely. Even if they do, most Goodwills now have sold. A lot of them are actually moving away from reselling because it's been difficult to do. So maybe a third of Goodwills from some of the managers I've talked to are kind of moving away from selling online. Even if they do, remember it's usually a minimum wage person back there. They still can't necessarily scan everything. They're not going to do type-ins as a rule. Some may. Some are very good at it. But just try stuff. Go there and try. Just because they sell online doesn't mean you shouldn't go into a store. Just because another scouter's in the store doesn't mean you shouldn't try it.
Yeah, I went to a library in the area, and they said the entire library district was starting to sell on Amazon. They told me about sales rank and how everything that has $10 or more in profit, they're taking off the shelves before they even put it out for people to buy. I went through, I scanned the entire thing there. I came away with so many books that were over $10 profit. So just because they say they're doing it doesn't mean they're doing it well. Go check it out and try it yourself. You'll probably still find things. So,
just a couple more questions, then we'll bounce. Just bought 1,200-ish books from a church thrift store for 5 cents per book. Check my math. What is that? $60 total? They said nobody ever buys books, and they usually throw away books not religion related. A lot of thrift stores do that, especially Christian or like Mormon or religious stores. They don't want to sell anything that's not religious for whatever reason. They don't feel good about it, and so they'll put the religious books on the shelves. They think that's their audience, and a lot of times they throw the books away. So just ask. Great tip, Ronnie.
Avery just jumped on Facebook.
Avery, we missed you. Guys, come see Avery. He's going on vacation, but then he's going to come back fired up, ready to talk in Chicago. Let's see here. Do you pay your scouters a flat rate, $2 minus the cost of the books? So if it's a 50-cent book, do you pay them $2 minus 50 cents? Yep, that's pretty much what I do. Another way to do it is buy cost plus $2. If you're going to do this, you need to give them full access to the app so they can change their buy costs. Right now we left it, and some of you have been asking, we probably will adjust this. Avery was asking today actually. But we don't allow you to change buy cost on hidden mode, because if your scouter changes the buy cost by accident, you're either going to buy way too many books or no books, and we didn't want that to happen. So we don't give them any controls. However, many of you have been asking, so we'll probably repent of our position there. Y'all equals Texas, absolutely. Got a bunch of teacher editions. Where do I sell them? I know they're scanning and sold on Amazon, but I know it's a no-go. You can sell teacher editions on Amazon as long as there's a separate teacher edition listing. So make sure the ISBN matches. If it does, A-OK. All right, any last comments, words of wisdom?
I don't think so. Check out the Turn the Page event. I'll throw the link to the eFlip challenge in here right after this. But yeah.
All right, we still have 112 people watching us on YouTube. Guys, what are you doing?
41 on Facebook.
Get out there, go find some books. Stop wasting your time watching a bunch of white guys sitting in a room with an orange background. It's not that exciting. All right, I'll get off my high horse. But guys, thanks for spending your time with us. We love meeting you. Again, if you're in Denver, pop by, see our office, say hello. We'd love to meet you, shake your hand. Even if you don't use our products, we forgive you 100%. Just come by, say hello. Love to meet you guys. So guys, thanks as well. And go out and find some books. If it was helpful, leave a like, leave a comment. That helps other people know they can see our content, trust our content. And that's it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll catch you out in the field. Hope to see you guys in Chicago. Go find some books. Peace.